Yo, what's up guys? Welcome to the first ever video on the Silicon Trading channel. For our first video, we actually plan on going into a trade recap slash market recap for the Euro USD shorts, which I did take this morning and netted me about 2.5% on the account. Before we go into the trade recap, just a quick introduction as to who I am and why I'm making these videos. So as per the name of the channel, Silicon Trader, I am a Forex trader that is based on the West Coast in California in the midst of the Silicon Valley. So hence the name Silicon Trader, Silicon Valley. Since I am on the West Coast, I believe I have a different approach to the markets as I am on the last session of the day. We're in the New York session. So on Instagram and on YouTube, I've seen a lot of YouTube, creators and traders that are in London or they're in New York, they're in Miami. So they're either in the London area or they're on the East Coast. But I really haven't seen many people on the West Coast trying to navigate the markets as the last session of the day. So I think this helps me with a different perspective of the markets, and I want to share this with you guys. Hopefully, you find some insight as to how I look at the markets. So, firstly, continuing with the introduction, as you guys can see, this is the Euro USD chart, and you can see our Silicon Trader colorway that we've gone. We have a nice gradient background with the blue, darker on the bottom, and nice solid blue candles, light blue candles with the white wicks. This is just, per our brand and how we like to view our chart, keep everything nice and clean. For the most part, that's the way we trade. Nice, clean charts, nothing crazy, nothing too spooky that'll throw off our psychology or anything like that. This might be a new way of looking at the charts for a lot of you guys. Maybe not, but I think a lot of people are used to maybe something like this because I think this is the standard TradingView setup when you first sign up for a TradingView account or when you first ever start trading, whether that's stocks or futures or Forex, whatever you get into. A lot of people use the red and the green candles, but personally and for, psychological reasons, which I can make a video on later on, we've adapted our silicon colorway and we really like it. It's nice and clean and it works really, really well for us. So anyways, let's move on to the trade for today. So as we said, Euro USD, let's go back to the weekly chart just so we can analyze from a top-down analysis perspective. So since we could say end of March of 2020, Euro hit a low and it's been on the rise ever since. So we see the clear uptrend, and actually in January of 2021, we had an all-time high, 1.23500, and ever since then, we've kind of been on a steady decline back down. So going over to the daily, we can see clear market structure here that's we can kind of draw on here. We can kind of start to see, let me make this white. We can see market structure here forming lower lows, lower highs, higher lows, higher highs, but still the overall trend is down. Double top and a big swing low. So moving down to the 4-hour time frame, you get to see a little bit more details the lower you go on the time frame, obviously. So this was kind of last week, and we kind of made like a double top is what a lot of people call this, and we've been on a steady, just move down. So personally, I actually don't like when the market moves this way because it's moving really slow, and the way I like clean structure. I like to trade the 4-hour. I like to intraday trade. I like to swing trade. I like clear highs, clear lows, and nice kind of structure. But the past, this week and the end of last week, things have been just kind of trickling down really slow, not really giving us any structure on the higher time frame, which has made it really difficult for trying to execute intraday trades where we hold them for, hours or days, and swing trades, obviously days. So since the market has been kind of choppy and not really giving us much on the higher time frames, we've had to resort to going into the lower time frames and doing some high frequency trading, or a lot of people call it scalping, but scalping has kind of a negative connotation to it. So I like to call it high frequency trading, where you're in and out of the market within minutes, possibly hours if the trade pans out, but typically it's minutes. All right, guys, so we've made our way down to the 15-minute time frame. And one thing I wanted to show you guys was when looking into the lower time frames, there's a lot of noise. There's a lot of up and down, as opposed to, like, let's say like a weekly, there's one candle for the whole entire week. Daily, these are daily candles. There's less noise. But when you get down to these, scalping / quick trading in the lower time frames, this can get very, very hectic. And at some point, you're going to look at this and you're going to be like, what am I looking at? What's going on? You don't really understand. You don't remember where you are on the higher time frames. And essentially, you look at this like a newbie, like someone that doesn't know. As a trader, we can kind of see what's going on. But as a new person, you would look at this and say, what the heck is going on? So let me unhide this real quick and I'll show you guys how I managed to navigate these shorter time frames, simply by doing session volume. So let's go down one more time frame and I'll show you guys a little bit clearer. So when the higher time frames are hard to read, there's not really much structure up there. What I tend to do is, as mentioned, is scalp trade or high frequency trade. And what I'll end up doing is, on a day-to-day basis, I take trades based on today's levels. So that's why my screen is so zoomed in to, this kind of 5 minutes here only. I'm not going to zoom out and look at yesterday or, the day before. Like, that doesn't matter to me. I don't care about none of that. All I care is about today's session and what's going on. So I have a couple rays right here where right here, this is, as you guys can tell on the bottom of the screen, it says 1400. Let me try to show you guys. So 1400. For me in California, 1400 is 2 p.m. and that's when the daily candle closes. And I always look at the daily candle closures kind of for direction and to see what the market did in the entire day, in summary, essentially. But this is where the session begins. So this is Asian session, and as you guys can see, I do Asian session high, Asian mid, and this is actually, let's change this. This should be Asian low. And this gives us kind of what the Asian session did in summary. Then during this whole time right here, I'm asleep. This for me is, 11 p.m. Midnight is when London session opens. Again, I'm in California, so for me it's midnight. In the past, I did used to trade London session. So I used to be awake from midnight to about 6 in the morning and then go to sleep and then wake up and go about my day after that. But that was really taxing on the body. And, it's really hard to kind of do that schedule when you're on the West Coast. So what I've been doing is, trading the New York and London crossover. So I still have to wake up really, really early. I'm still up every single day. About 3:30 in the morning, 4 in the morning is when I get up. And by that point, New York session is going to start, which for me is at 5 in the morning, which would be 8 in the morning in New York. So hopefully you guys can see how, these time frames are working out for me on the West Coast. But essentially what I do is I'll end up plotting the London high, the London mid, and the London low. So as you guys can see on the screen, right here is 4:05 in the morning is when the London low was made. So during this time, I'm kind of, catching up with the market. I'm waking up, drinking my coffee. I'm seeing what's going on. Is there anything else going on the higher time frames? So, we jump back to the 4 hour. We take a look. there's nothing really here. So, okay, today we're going to scalp. We're going to try to see if we can find a trade, or maybe we won't trade today. It just depends. It's on a day-to-day basis. Some days there's no trades. Some days there is. So luckily today there was a trade. One more thing you guys can see on the screen is there's a 4-hour QP, which means quarter point. I do trade the quarter point system, and I think later on I'll make a separate video on what the quarter point system is and how I use it. But for today's video, essentially this is what I did. I am a big Fibonacci trader. Again, I'll make a separate video on Fibonacci and how I use it specifically, but here's how I used it today. So here's the mid, here's the relative high that we had. So I went from high to low to London low. And at this point, time's trickling on. This is 5 in the morning, and this is our 61.8 London mid retest. And this is when I executed the trade. So as soon as I hit this level, I saw this doji, which, kind of stopped this upward volume in its tracks, essentially. I flipped to the 15-minute. As soon as this 15-minute candle closed, I took my short. So short there. Stop loss. Again, this is scalping, so my stop loss isn't going to be huge. There's no, on an intraday trade, I could have 15, 20, 25, 15, 20 pip stop loss. Swing trades usually around 30. But for this trade, I had right around 10 pips stop loss. Because, this is the high, this is the low. If it breaks this high, then that means I'm in the wrong direction. I need to get out of the trade immediately and analyze again and see if maybe I can take the long back up or see what's going on, what the situation is. So with the 10 pip stop loss, I like to focus on a 1-to-1. What's my 1-to-1 and where can I, for my personal strategy and how I like to trade, at a 1-to-1, I move my stops to break even. And depending how the, market structure is forming, I will sometimes take 80% of my trade, stops to break even, let the rest run. So for today's trade, I liked how this pushed down relatively fast, came back a little bit, and then it just dropped. So this was the overall target, our extension, Fibonacci extension, 61.8. And as you guys can see, 2.52, which is what I mentioned, the 2.5% gain on the account. So essentially, that's how I looked at the markets today. That's how I was able to capitalize and make this little trade. Again, this trade started at around 5:15 in the morning, and it ended at 6:45. So about an hour and a half, 2.5% banked. Not bad. I like it. I'll take it. I want to show you guys something else real quick. So I have the sessions here. I don't usually mark out New York session since that's the session that I'm in. So I can see the low, I can see the mid, I can see the high. I'm tracking it as I go. And being the last session of the day, I can show you guys here, after kind of 9:30, 10 in the morning, typically volume just dies down until the end of the day. So with no volume, there's no trades. I did like this trade for a re-entry. I believe it was from swing high to swing low. Another 61.8. I could have executed this, but as you guys can see, the volume dies down and our Fibonacci is not met because there's no volume here. So this is really the optimal time when I like to trade early in the morning. I like this type of trading, and it actually lets me, get in and out of the markets and go on with the rest of my day. So anyways, this is the trade for today. Quick trade recap and introduction. If you guys want to see something else or you want me to explain something else, drop it in the comments below. Send me a message on Instagram at Silicon Trader, and I'll try to go more in depth for this for you guys. But if not, I got some great other videos coming up, Fibonacci strategies, EMA strategies, psychology, all kinds of good stuff coming. So just stay tuned, hit the like button, hit subscribe, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching.